The breaking point. The crystalline spires of New Geneva gleamed in the artificial sunlight of the Galactic Union's capital station. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching the endless stream of ships flowing through the space lanes below. Each vessel represented a different species, a different world, all bound together by the Union's ancient protocols and traditions, all except the humans, who had once again disrupted those carefully maintained protocols. Ambassador Chen, a soft, melodic voice called from behind her. The council awaits. Sarah turned to face Arxis, her Meridian assistant. The tall, silver-skinned being's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with concern. They've made their decision, then? Yes, Ambassador. The emergency session begins in 20 minutes. Sarah straightened her midnight blue uniform, the silver Earth insignia catching the light. Then let's not keep them waiting. Humanity's fate in the galaxy hangs in the balance. The council chambers stretched high above them, its curved walls displaying real-time feeds from thousands of member worlds. Today, most showed scenes of chaos. The Promethean incident, as it was being called, had sent shockwaves through the Union. Humanity had broken nearly every protocol in the book, but they'd saved millions of lives in the process. High Counselor Venra, their chitinous exoskeleton gleaming with ceremonial oils, called the session to order. The being's compound eyes fixed on Sarah with what she'd learned to recognize as disapproval. Ambassador Chen, you stand before this council to answer for humanity's actions in the Promethean system. Your species bypassed 16 separate regulatory checkpoints, violated quarantine protocols, and deployed unauthorized technology. How do you respond? Sarah stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. High Counselor, distinguished members of the Council, I respond with a question. How many dead would you have preferred? A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. The Alcyonian representative, Ambassador Kal, rose from his hover seat, his tentacles writhing with agitation. This is precisely the problem. Humans consistently disregard our procedures, acting with reckless abandon. Reckless? Sarah interrupted, earning more murmurs. When the Promethean star began its premature collapse, your response was to form a committee. While you deliberated, millions faced extinction. We acted because you wouldn't. There are procedures. Kittel began. Procedures that would have taken 6 months to implement. Sarah shot back. The Prometheans had weeks. Our fleet was in position. We had the technology. We acted. High Counselor Vendra's mandibles clicked in irritation. And in doing so, you deployed artificial quantum singularities in Union space without approval. The risk was calculated. Sarah finished. Our scientists had tested the technology extensively. It worked exactly as intended, stabilizing the star's core and saving not just the Prometheans, but 3 other species in neighboring systems who would have been affected by the collapse. That is not the point. The Rigelian representative's crystalline form flashed with angry patterns. Your species consistently acts unilaterally, without regard for established order. The Promethean incident is merely the latest in a long line of violations. Sarah felt her patience wearing thin. For 3 years, she tried to work within the system, to show the Council that humanity's drive to solve problems quickly and efficiently could benefit everyone. But at every turn, they'd been met with resistance, bureaucracy, and thinly veiled contempt. Perhaps, she said slowly, the problem isn't with our actions, but with a system that prioritizes procedure over lives. The Union was founded to unite species in cooperation, not to strangle them with red tape. The chamber erupted in protests. High Counselor Venra had to pound their ceremonial staff 3 times to restore order. Ambassador Chen, you walk a dangerous line. No, Sarah replied, her voice carrying across the chamber. We've been walking your line for too long. Humanity joined the Union because we believed in the dream of interstellar cooperation. But we've watched world after world suffer while this council debates and deliberates. The Promethean crisis was different only in scale, not in nature. She gestured to the displays showing the saved Promethean worlds. Look at these images. While this council was scheduling its first preliminary hearing, we were evacuating cities. While you were debating the proper forms to file, we were deploying stabilization technology. And while you were concerned about protocols, we were saving lives. Then perhaps, Venra said quietly, humanity is not ready for membership in the Galactic Union. The chamber fell silent. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders, the weight of years trying to fit humanity into the Union's rigid framework. No, she said, surprising everyone with a small smile. Perhaps the Union isn't ready for humanity. She reached up and unpinned her Union diplomatic insignia, placing it on the speaker's podium. Effective immediately, Earth and all human colonies withdraw from the Galactic Union. We'll maintain our defensive treaties and trade agreements as an independent entity, but we will no longer be bound by Union protocols. You cannot, Kittel began. We can, and we are, Sarah stated firmly. The Union Charter, Section 47B, allows for voluntary withdrawal. I've already transmitted our formal notice. But know this, we will not stop helping those in need. We will not stand by while bureaucracy prevents us from saving lives. If worlds need assistance, Union worlds included, we will answer the call. She turned to leave, then paused at the chamber doors. High Counselor, distinguished representatives, humanity has always believed in pushing boundaries, in finding new ways to solve problems. We joined the Union hoping to share that drive, that innovation with the galaxy. Instead, you've tried to contain it. But some things can't be contained. They can only be embraced or rejected. As Sarah walked out of the chamber, she activated her neural link. Admiral Hayes, initiate Protocol Omega. We're going independent. Understood, Ambassador, Hayes replied. The fleet is ready. And Sarah, you did the right thing. I know, she said, watching as human ships across Union space began disengaging from their docks. The galaxy needs us to be who we are, not what the Union wants us to be. It's time to show them what humanity can really do. Behind her, the Council erupted into chaos as the implications of humanity's withdrawal began to sink in. But Sarah didn't look back. Her eyes were on the stars ahead and the countless worlds that needed solutions the Union couldn't provide. Humanity had been rejected by the Council, but in that rejection, they would find their true purpose in the galaxy. The breaking point had come, and with it, the dawn of a new era, not just for humanity, but for every species that dared to dream of a more dynamic, responsive galaxy. The Union had made their choice. Now they would have to live with the consequences. Rogue Solutions. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Union transformed the political landscape, Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Hayes Pathfinder, studying the holographic display of Epsilon Centauri. The binary star system shouldn't have been experiencing a planetary crisis, but the evidence was undeniable. The colony world of New Eden was dying. Analysis complete, Captain, Lieutenant Park announced from his science station. Atmospheric degradation is accelerating. The terraforming grid is failing systematically. Maya nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of atmospheric decay. What's the Union's response? Official channels show they've scheduled an environmental assessment for next quarter. Communications Officer Chen reported, her tone bitter. Standard procedure for non-member worlds. The unspoken truth hung heavy in the air. New Eden had been a human colony before their withdrawal from the Union. Now it was classified as an independent settlement, despite its mixed population of humans and various alien species. The Union's bureaucracy had effectively abandoned them to their fate. Well then, Maya said, straightening her black and silver uniform of the newly formed Human Expeditionary Force, I guess we'll have to solve this ourselves. Status of the Prometheus Protocol. Dr. Elena Santos, their lead xenobiologist, stepped forward. Her holoscreen displayed complex molecular structures. The nanotech terraforming enhancers are ready, Captain. but they've never been deployed at this scale. The Union banned this technology specifically because it's too unpredictable. The Union bans anything they don't fully control, Maya replied. Contact Governor Exiled. Tell him help is coming, whether the Union approves or not. Within hours, the Pathfinder had landed at New Eden's capital, its massive form casting shadows over the dusty plains that had once been fertile farmland. Governor Exiled, a towering Andromedian with iridescent scales, met them at the landing pad. His normally bright scales had dulled, a sign of stress in his species. Captain Rodriguez, he rumbled, your arrival is unexpected. The Union. The Union isn't here, Maya interrupted gently. We are, and we have a solution. Inside the colony's Environmental Control Center, Dr. Santos laid out their plan. The Prometheus Protocol would introduce self-replicating nanites into the failing terraforming grid, essentially rebuilding it from the molecular level up. It was elegant, efficient, and completely against Union regulations. This is highly irregular, Tarl said, his tail twitching nervously. If the Union discovers, they'll what? Maya asked. Abandon you more than they already have. Governor, your people are suffering. The crops are failing. The air is becoming toxic. We can fix this, but you have to trust us. Kaharl's secondary eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his species. The Union claims human technology is dangerous, unreliable. The same Union that's making you wait 3 months for an assessment while your world dies. Maya gestured to the environmental readings. Look at these numbers. You don't have 3 months. A young Andromedian burst into the room, scales flickering with distress. Governor, the Eastern Agricultural Dome has collapsed. Toxic atmosphere is seeping in. Varl's scales shifted to a pale blue of defeat. Do it. Save my people, Captain. Maya's team moved with practiced efficiency, while Dr. Santos began deploying the nanites through the terraforming grid's distribution network. Maya coordinated with local authorities to evacuate the affected areas. The Pathfinder's medical team, led by Dr. James Chen, began treating those affected by the toxic atmosphere. Hours turned into days as they worked. The nanites spread through the failing systems, repairing, rebuilding, and reinforcing. Where the old grid had been rigid and vulnerable, the new network was adaptive, learning from each failure and strengthening itself accordingly. Not everyone approved. A Union observer arrived on the 4th day, a Rigelian bureaucrat who immediately began filing protests. Maya simply ignored them, focusing instead on the steadily improving atmospheric readings. On the 7th day, New Eden's sky cleared for the first time in months. The toxic elements had been processed out, replaced by breathable air. The agricultural domes, reinforced by the nanite grid, gleamed with new strength. In the fields, the first shoots of green were pushing through soil that had been dead just days before. Remarkable, Sarl said, his scales now shimmering with health and hope. The Union said this kind of repair would take years, if it was possible at all. Maya watched as children of various species played in the parks again, no longer confined to sealed environments. The Union says a lot of things, Governor. We prefer to act. That evening, as the Pathfinder prepared to depart, Maya received a transmission from Admiral Hayes. Well done, Captain. Word of your success is spreading. We're receiving requests for help from 3 other colonies facing similar crises. The Union won't like that, Maya observed. The Union doesn't like anything we do, Hayes replied with a chuckle. But they can't argue with results. Every world we save, every crisis we solve, proves that humanity's approach works. We're making a difference, Captain. Keep it up. As the Pathfinder lifted off, Maya studied the transformed landscape below. New Eden was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, worlds were crying out for solutions that the Union couldn't or wouldn't provide. Humanity had found its new purpose, not as members of a restrictive bureaucracy, but as independent problem solvers, bringing hope to those the Union had forgotten. Set course for the Vega system, she ordered. "Another world needs our help." Lieutenant Park smiled as he programmed the coordinates. "You know, Captain, I was worried when we left the Union. Thought maybe we were making a mistake. But now we're doing what humans do best." Maya finished. "We're innovating, adapting, and helping others do the same. The Union wants stability through control. We create stability through progress." As the Pathfinder jumped to FTL, Maya knew they were part of something bigger than just saving individual worlds. They were showing the galaxy a different way, a human way, of solving problems. And despite the Union's protests, their successes were becoming impossible to ignore. The revolution hadn't come through military might or political maneuvering, but through humanity's greatest strength, their unwavering drive to fix what was broken, help those in need, and find solutions where others saw only obstacles. The galaxy was changing, one world at a time, and humanity was leading the way. The Nexus Initiative. The space station horizon hung in the darkness between stars, its angular form unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Dr. Marcus Zhang stood in the central hub, watching as ships from dozens of species docked at the newly completed facility. Each vessel represented a civilization that had grown frustrated with the Union's restrictive policies. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" Ambassador Sarah Chen asked, joining him at the viewport. A year had passed since she'd walked out of the Union Council, and she'd aged decades in experience, if not in years. Hard to believe this all started with a single idea. Marcus nodded, remembering the late-night conversation that had birthed the Nexus Initiative. Create a network of independent trading hubs, free from Union oversight. Give developing worlds access to technology and resources without forcing them to navigate Union bureaucracy. He smiled. Simple in concept, revolutionary in practice, Sarah added, watching as a Meridian trading vessel smoothly docked alongside a ship from the former human colony of New Eden. "The Union's already calling us dangerous radicals." "They call anything they can't control dangerous," Marcus replied. "Speaking of which, how's Maya doing with the Vega situation?" Sarah's expression turned serious. The Pathfinder's last report was promising. "The quantum communications network is nearly complete. Once it's online, the vegan systems will finally be free from dependence on Union communication relays." Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Kira Patel, the station's chief of operations. "Ambassador, Doctor, you're needed in Conference Room 1. The Arcturus delegation has arrived." The Arcturians were the latest species to seek humanity's help. Their civilization had developed faster than light travel independently, only to find themselves blocked from major trade routes by Union regulations requiring centuries of observation before accepting new spacefaring races. In Conference Room 1, the Arcturian representatives waited, crystalline beings that communicated through patterns of light pulsing through their translucent forms. Their leader, designated First Light of Dawn, glowed with patterns that their translators interpreted as both hope and anxiety. "Honored humans," First Light's translated voice filled the room. "We have studied your Nexus Initiative with great interest. Your approach to galactic civilization offers possibilities the Union denies us." Sarah took the lead, her years of diplomatic experience evident in her careful response. "The initiative exists to help species reach their full potential without artificial constraints. Tell us what your people need." The meeting lasted hours as the Arcturians detailed their situation. They had resources the galaxy needed, technology that could benefit others, but the Union's restrictions kept them isolated. As First Light spoke, Marcus's mind was already racing with possibilities. "What if," he interrupted, earning a sharp look from Sarah, "we didn't just help you bypass Union trade restrictions? What if we helped you become a hub world yourself?" First Light's crystalline form pulsed with intense colors. "Explain." Marcus pulled up a holographic display of the growing Nexus network. "The initiative isn't just about trading goods. It's about creating connections. Your system's location is perfect for a major hub. With our help, you could become a crucial link between 3 sectors of space. the Union would never permit. One of First Light's advisors began. The Union's permission isn't required, Sarah interjected smoothly. That's the whole point. We operate outside their jurisdiction, while maintaining all safety and quality standards, often exceeding them, actually. As they laid out the proposal, Marcus couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. A year ago, humanity had been forced to choose between submission to Union rules and forging their own path. Now they were helping others make the same choice, offering an alternative to the Union's stagnant order. The Arcturians proved to be quick studies. Within weeks, construction began on their hub station. Human engineers worked alongside crystalline builders, combining their technologies in ways neither species had imagined possible. The Union's protests grew louder, but with each successful project, their threats carried less weight. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the control room of the completed Arcturus hub, watching as the first wave of ships arrived through the newly established trade corridors. First Light's glow was almost blinding with joy. "You have transformed our future," the Arcturian leader communicated. "Already, 3 other species have contacted us about establishing direct trade relations." "That's how it starts," Marcus explained. "Each new connection strengthens the network. Each success shows another world that there's a different way." Back on Horizon, Sarah received the reports of Arcturus Hub's successful launch with satisfaction. The Nexus initiative was growing faster than even they had anticipated. Worlds that had been relegated to the Union's waiting list were flourishing, sharing their innovations and resources freely. "New contact request," Kira announced one evening. "The Centaurians. They're a Union member species." Sarah straightened in her chair. This was new. Union members were prohibited from direct contact with the initiative. "Put them through." The Centaurian representative appeared on screen, their bioluminescent patterns indicating distress. "Ambassador Chen, we require assistance. Our colony in the Proxima system faces an energy crisis. The Union's response time is..." "Let me guess," Sarah said gently. "Too slow. They speak of procedures, of proper channels. Meanwhile, our people suffer. We have seen what you did for New Eden, for the Arcturians. We are prepared to risk Union censured if you can help us." Sarah shared a look with Marcus. This was a turning point. Helping independent worlds was one thing, but directly assisting Union members would escalate the conflict dramatically. "The Union will retaliate," Marcus warned. Sarah's expression hardened with determination. "Let them. We didn't start this to play it safe. We started it to help those in need." She turned back to the screen. "Tell us about your situation. We'll send a team immediately." As the Centaurian detailed their crisis, Sarah reflected on the changing galaxy. The Nexus initiative had become more than just a trading network. It was becoming a genuine alternative to the Union's way of doing things, a system based on practical solutions rather than endless regulations, on innovation rather than tradition. The Union had thought that by rejecting humanity, they would contain their influence. Instead, they had freed humans to reshape the galaxy, one connection at a time. And now, as even Union members began turning to them for help, it was becoming clear that the old order was crumbling. The revolution they had started wasn't fought with weapons, but with ideas, with solutions, with hope. And against these forces, the Union's bureaucracy was powerless to resist. Crisis point. The emergency alert came during the busiest trading cycle on Horizon Station. Dr. Marcus Zhang was reviewing plans for a new hub in the Carina sector when every screen in the command center suddenly flashed red. The message was brief, but terrifying. Massive quantum storms were forming throughout Union space, threatening to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. "Get me the Pathfinder," Sarah Chen ordered, her face pale as she studied the sensor readings. "And contact every Nexus hub. We need to coordinate our response." Maya Rodriguez's hologram appeared moments later, her image flickering with interference from the growing storms. "We're already detecting severe disruptions across 3 sectors. The Union's quantum drive network is destabilizing." Marcus felt his blood run cold. The Union had standardized all FTL travel through their quantum drive network centuries ago, forcing member worlds to abandon other forms of faster-than-light travel. Now that network was collapsing, threatening to strand thousands of worlds. Cause? Sarah demanded. Their network was never designed to handle this much traffic, Marcus explained, pieces falling into place. When we started the initiative, worlds began developing alternative FTL methods. The Union responded by pushing their network harder, trying to prove their supremacy. They've created a cascade failure. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Within hours, reports flooded in of ships being torn apart mid-jump, of colonies cut off from supply lines, of entire systems facing isolation. The Union's response was predictably bureaucratic. They formed emergency committees to study the problem. They'll debate while worlds die, Sarah muttered, watching Union ships drift helplessly as their quantum drives failed. Then, straightening her shoulders, she made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. Get me a direct line to High Counselor Venra. It's time to show them what humanity can really do. The connection took precious minutes to establish. When Venra's image appeared, the normally composed alien looked distinctly rattled. Ambassador Chen, this is hardly the time. Listen carefully, Sarah interrupted. Your quantum network is collapsing. We have technology that can help, but you need to swallow your pride and accept our assistance. Now, this is an internal Union matter. This is a galactic emergency, Marcus cut in. The quantum storms are growing exponentially. In approximately 48 hours, they'll reach critical mass. After that, FTL travel in this entire sector of the galaxy will be impossible for centuries. Venra's compound eyes flickered, and what Sarah had learned was their species' expression of fear. What do you propose? The Nexus Initiative doesn't rely on your quantum network, Sarah explained. We developed our own FTL technology, a hybrid system that adapts to local space-time conditions. We can modify Union ships to use our system, but we need full cooperation. No committees, no debates, just action. The High Counselor was silent for a long moment. The Council will never approve. Then don't ask them, Sarah said firmly. You have emergency powers. Use them. Otherwise, you'll be remembered as the leader who let the galaxy tear itself apart because of pride. What followed was the largest coordinated operation in human history. The Pathfinder led a fleet of human ships into the heart of Union space, racing against time to reach stranded vessels and isolated worlds. Dr. Santos' team worked around the clock, modifying Union ships with hybrid drive systems. At the Arcturus hub, First Light coordinated the evacuation of systems in the storm's path. The crystalline being's natural affinity for quantum fields proved invaluable in predicting the storm's movement. On Horizon, Marcus and his team developed emergency protocols for worlds that couldn't be reached in time, teaching them how to survive long-term isolation. The Union's rigid hierarchy began to crack under the pressure. Lower-ranking officials ignored orders from above, working directly with human teams to save their people. Union citizens watched in amazement as human ships braved the quantum storms to reach them, using technology their leaders had condemned as dangerous. Captain Rodriguez and the Pathfinder became legends during those desperate days. They rescued a Rigelian colony ship moments before a quantum storm tore their section of space apart. They evacuated a Union research station by flying through the eye of a storm, using the Pathfinder's adaptive shields in ways they were never designed for. But the greatest challenge came when they detected a massive storm forming near the Union's capital station of New Geneva. The quantum disruption threatened to destroy not just the station, but the seat of galactic governance itself. We can't save the station with conventional methods, Maya reported grimly. The storm's too powerful. Marcus studied the data, then proposed something radical. What if we don't fight the storm? What if we ride it? The plan was audacious. They would use the Pathfinder's hybrid drive to surf the quantum wavefront, generating a counter-resonance that would dissipate the storm's energy. The calculations had to be perfect. The slightest error would destroy the ship and everyone aboard. The Union would never attempt something this risky, Sarah observed as she reviewed the plan. That's why they need us, Maya replied. Sometimes the safe path is the deadliest one of all. The attempt became the stuff of legend. Those watching from New Geneva saw the Pathfinder dance through impossible space, its hybrid drive leaving trails of blue fire as it rode the quantum storm like a surfer riding a wave. When it was over, the storm had dispersed, and the capital was saved. As emergency teams worked to stabilize the remaining quantum fluctuations, Sarah received an unexpected message from High Counselor Venra. The Council has convened an emergency session. Your presence is requested. Sarah exchanged looks with Marcus and Maya. 2 years ago, they had walked out of those chambers in defiance. Now they were being invited back, not as supplicants, but as saviors. Tell them we'll be there, Sarah replied. But this time, things will be different. The quantum storms had done what years of human innovation couldn't. They had forced the Union to confront the limitations of their rigid system. As Sarah prepared to face the Council again, she knew that the galaxy would never be the same. The crisis had proven that humanity's adaptability, their willingness to take calculated risks, wasn't just useful, it was essential for survival. New galaxy order. The Council chambers felt different now. Where once the curved walls had displayed scenes of ordered prosperity from Union worlds, they now showed the reality of a galaxy in transformation. Sarah Chen stood before the Council again, but this time Maya Rodriguez and Marcus Zhang flanked her, and the chamber was packed with representatives from both Union worlds and independent systems. High Counselor Venra's kitten had dulled with exhaustion after weeks of crisis management, but their voice remained strong. This council has been forced to confront uncomfortable truths. The quantum storms nearly destroyed everything we built over millennia. We survived only because of human intervention. More than that, a Centaurian representative interjected, their bioluminescence pulsing with emotion. The crisis revealed the fundamental flaws in our system. While we debated procedures, humans acted. While we clung to tradition, they innovated. We cannot return to the old ways. The chamber erupted in a chorus of agreements and protests. Sarah waited for the noise to settle before speaking. The Union was founded on a noble idea, that different species could work together for the common good. That hasn't changed. What needs to change is how we achieve that goal. She gestured to the displays showing the aftermath of the quantum storms. Look at what we accomplished when we worked together without bureaucratic constraints. Union ships modified with human technology. Arcturian quantum sensing combined with human predictive models. Meridian energy distribution systems integrated with our hybrid drives. This is what real cooperation looks like. Marcus stepped forward, bringing up a holographic display of the new hybrid FTL network they'd begun establishing. We're not suggesting dismantling the Union. We're proposing evolution, a system that combines the Union's experience and stability with humanity's drive to innovate and adapt. The Nexus Initiative has proven that alternatives to rigid bureaucracy can work, Maya added. We've helped dozens of worlds develop and thrive without sacrificing safety or order. It's time to scale that success to a galactic level. High Counselor Venra's compound eyes studied them carefully. What exactly are you proposing? Sarah shared a look with her colleagues before responding. A new covenant, one that preserves the Union's role in maintaining galactic stability while creating space for innovation and rapid response to crisis. The Nexus Initiative becomes a officially recognized parallel structure, working alongside the Union rather than against it. Impossible, one of the conservative council members protested. The regulations need to change. First Light of Arcturus interrupted, their crystalline form pulsing with determination. My people were trapped in isolation by Union regulations until humans showed us another way. Now we're a thriving hub world, contributing technologies and resources that benefit everyone. How many other species could achieve similar growth if given the chance? The debate raged for days. Sarah, Maya, and Marcus took turns presenting evidence of their successes, demonstrating how human methods could complement rather than threaten Union stability. Gradually, a new vision began to emerge. Under the new covenant, the Union would maintain its role in establishing baseline standards and coordinating large-scale galactic projects. But alongside it, the Nexus Initiative would evolve into an official rapid response and innovation division, free to act quickly in crisis and experiment with new solutions. Think of it as specialized tools working together, Marcus explained to a group of skeptical representatives. The Union is like a foundation, providing stability and structure. The initiative is like a rapid response team, able to adapt and innovate quickly when needed. Both are essential. The changes rippled through galactic society. Union worlds were given more freedom to pursue technological development, while still maintaining core safety standards. The Nexus hubs became official ports of innovation, where species could collaborate on new technologies without drowning in paperwork. Perhaps most significantly, a new emergency protocol was established. In times of crisis, designated human-led teams would have authority to act immediately, bypassing normal Union procedures to save lives and prevent disasters. 6 months after the quantum storms, Sarah stood on the observation deck of a new station orbiting Earth. Unlike the angular efficiency of Horizon or the crystalline beauty of the Arcturus hub, this station was a perfect blend of Union and human design. Its sweeping curves housed advanced research laboratories, while its practical layout facilitated rapid deployment of emergency response teams. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Maya asked, joining her at the window. Below them, ships of all designs moved through space. Union vessels with their precise formations, human ships with their innovative modifications, and new hybrid designs that combined the best of both approaches. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Sarah wondered, when we walked out of the council that first day. "Not exactly," Maya admitted. "But I knew we'd find our place in the galaxy eventually. Humans always do." Marcus arrived with news from the latest joint development project. "The Regellians have agreed to work with us on improving their crystalline technology. They're actually excited about it. Can you believe it?" Sarah smiled, remembering how the Regellians had once been among their strongest critics. "The galaxy's changing faster than anyone expected, and this is just the beginning." A message flashed on their screens, another crisis brewing in a distant sector. But this time, there was no bureaucratic delay, no committees to debate response protocols. Within minutes, ships were launching, crews were mobilizing, and solutions were being developed. This was the new galaxy they had helped create, not one dominated by rigid rules or chaos, but one where structure and innovation worked in harmony, where different approaches to problem-solving were seen as strengths rather than threats, where humanity's drive to push boundaries and help others had transformed from a source of conflict into a catalyst for growth. As the first response ships jumped to FTL, their hybrid drives leaving trails of blue fire against the black of space, Sarah thought about the journey that had brought them here. The Union had rejected humanity, but in doing so, they had set in motion changes that would reshape the galaxy forever. "Ready for another adventure?" Maya asked, noting the determined look in Sarah's eyes. Sarah nodded, watching as more ships launched into the starlit void. "Always. After all, that's what humans do best. We see problems as opportunities, we turn rejection into revolution, and we never, ever stop trying to make things better." The galaxy had learned that lesson well, and now, with the barriers between innovation and tradition finally breaking down, the real adventure was just beginning.